Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. My name is Greg Deckler, and today I'm going to be showing you how not to code a custom connector. well, I'm gonna show you we're gonna code a custom connector, but it's not gonna work the way we want it, and I'm gonna explain why and some of the pitfalls that you can run into when doing this. Some of the strange kind of problems that that really mystified me at some point. Hopefully you'll learn something. I learned a lot going through this process. So the premise that all starts out with is very simple. We all know Power BI's folder connector, right? So if I come in here and I choose a folder connector and say connect, I can point it to some path, some folder, right? And it comes up with this interface, and I can choose to load or I can choose to combine, right? And so, this is the standard folder interface. Well, but what if, and this has come up a few times in the forums, and that's where this came out of, what if we wanted to be able to connect to a folder and then we wanted to create an individual query for every file in that folder, right? And maybe maybe they're all CSV files, they have different formats. Maybe it's a mix of or XML files or JSON files, or even a mix of like CSV, XML, and JSON files, right? But we just want to point it to a folder, and we want to be able to get the nice navigation interface, right? Kind of similar to what you get when you're dealing with like SQL tables and views and stuff. You can select individual ones. You can hit select all, right? And just be able to pull them all in and create a bunch of queries all just automatically for you. Sounds cool and neat, right? I mean, it does. There is a use for it. A couple people on the forums have had this need, and so I recently saw one of these forum posts, and I was like, well, that I bet I could. I wrote the last chapter in the definitive guide to Power Query M, on building custom connectors. And I learned a lot in writing that chapter. I'm like, well, I know how to code custom connectors now. I mean, I'm sure I could code a custom connector, pretty simply. That would, be able to do that. Uh, File that into the things that should be simple department. All right, so let's get into it, right? So here we are. So I've got my custom connector code here. This is in Visual Studio Code. Um, I just went and created a sample. Created the created the new project more or less, and away we go. Now what I'll show you here that I have, and I hard coded a config folder. I'll get into why I did that stuff, but the idea here is that let's see this one right here. So here's my data source kind, right? And of course I had that highlighted. So let's try this again. Okay, so basically I've got my two navigation table custom function, pretty standard function that we have to turn it into a navigation table format, in terms of that. So that's what this is doing up here on. So TPM get folder file get navigation config folder, then two navigation table, right? And then the get navigation is just this right here, right? So I send in the folder, right? And I go ahead and get folder.contents of that folder. And then what I do, and I have to go and scroll down a little bit and get that one in. So here we go. All right, so I get the folder contents. I'm adding, merging in, the folder path and the name together. And then I do as you can see, the first add column, I do a folder file get file, and then give it the name. And then the folder get file, all it's doing is csv.document file.contents, and bring it in, right? And this is just an early version of this. Hadn't gone through all of the where I was going to be able to recognize the extension type and get the right function for each one. This was just very early on, just trying to get this to work. Okay, so when we do this though, and you can see here that I have Windows authentication turned on. All right. So that's really all the custom code to this thing. There's really nothing else that I've done, and we'll get to this file, this dot contents one here. That's here in a minute. Okay. So what happens when we actually use this thing? Well, let's go ahead and here I am in Power Query. Just ignore this for right now. I do a new source. I will do a more. I've got custom connectors turned on and all of that other stuff. And I can find my, not that one, Greg. It was not what I wanted. I don't know what that's going to do. Cancel. That's the Discord one. Let's try that again, people. Okay, other. What I want is, I don't know why it's not coming up here. Let's try this again. Let's go to this other file over here. Maybe I was just missing it. Or it wasn't loaded up for that one. Other. There it is, folder file. That's what I was looking for. GPM folder file. Okay, so let's hit connect now. Oh, days like these that I wish I edited my videos. Okay, so I can Windows, use my current credentials. I had turned on supporting alternate connect, credentials. I can hit connect. Please specify how to connect. Connect. Please specify how to. It doesn't matter what I do here. I can't get past this screen, right? And so I thought I was going crazy. But I reached out to a few people that I know, posted on the forums, but I couldn't ever get around this at all. Well, turns out I found the answer on my own, actually. And it comes down to, I believe, this. So in the Power Query custom connector guide, it has, handling data access, and it has right here, hey, you know what? Currently, a limited set of data source functions have been enabled to support extensibility. Web.contents, OData feed, ODBC data storage, ADO.NET data source, OLADB data source. Nope, what's not on that list? Folder.contents. Okay. But this does not tell the whole story. In fact, some of this is kind of a lie. And I'll show you why that's the case. Okay, so how can we get around this? Well, I did a number of things to get around this, and what we're going to do now is, you see this folder.contents, you see I pass in an option as a number. The original idea, right, is that you would pass in the folder as something that you would enter, that the user would enter, right? And then it would take it from there versus kind of hard-coded like it is right now. But anyway, and you can see if table option equals 1, then I call my folder file.files, right, to go get my files, else hello. All right, and so that is what so folder, and then the folder files, that's the one that currently it's running, right? Because right underneath my data source.kind definition, right, the first shared function is my folder file.files. That's the one it's running currently when I use that connector. So what we can do is we can just do this. Just chop that off. We'll paste it back here. Get our formatting back here. And maybe delete a couple lines here. All right. So now when I use the connector, it's going to use folder file.contents instead. And if I pass in an option of 1, then I'll go get folder file.files. Otherwise, it's going to return a message of hello. Okay, so what we have to do now is we need to save this. Save all. And then I don't think that actually updates my file. Let me look. So 5:10 to 5:13 p.m. No, that's not it. So what I want to do is I need to run my test connection. That should recompile my mes file. And it has 5:52 p.m. All right, so now I can copy this. And then I can paste it into my custom connectors directory, which I'll put on the screen here. So here it is. Documents, Microsoft Power BI Desktop, custom connectors. Okay, my machine. Wait, Greg, paste. Yes, replace. Okay, so now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to get out of this. I'll save it. We'll relaunch Power BI Desktop, so we make sure that we have a brand new, that it's read the custom connectors and it's using the right version of the custom connector, and we don't run into any wonkiness that way. All right, come on, there we go. Okay, so now I should be able to do a get data, and I can go to more. Other, folder file, connect. It should give me my option. There we go, option, right? Now watch what happens. So I say, okay, so I'm going to give it an option of 2. Okay. Windows, use my current credential, connect. Hey, look at that. It works just fine, right? Okay, so there we go. There's my hello. All right, well, let's try that again. Say new. We'll say more. We will go to other, folder file, connect. If I get an option of 1, how to connect. Use current credentials. Nope, doesn't work. Nope, nope, nope. Hates me. Okay, but you can actually get it to work. So if I go back to my code here, and what is it? It's this guy. Copy this, right? And come back to here. So if, actually, I should just be able to folder content, folder files, folder files. Then I don't pass it anything. I change it to that. Hey, look at that. It works just fine. So even though they say that only those like 5 functions are available for custom connectors to use, it's a lie. You can use like something like folder.contents and be able to bring in the information, right? But they just don't allow you to go through the navigator, which is really annoying. I mean, because, right? I mean, you can, I mean, now that I have this, I can do add as new query, right? And I can, add as new query. But that, I mean, that's what a pain, right? I mean, if, let's say you have 100 files that you need to bring in and bring into queries, that's a real hassle to be able to go there. It would be much nicer to just go through the navigator one. So it's not that you can't use other functions other than the ones listed here, these 5. You can use other data accessing functions in your custom connector. It's just they won't allow you to go through the navigator dialog, if you will, which to me seems incredibly stupid. Um, yeah, so the question is, why does Microsoft not allow you to do that? And I mean, the obvious answer, right, because we're on this channel, is that Microsoft hates me, right? They just hate me and anyone else that wants to do cool stuff with their products, right? There's like, they probably have a division that just sits around and it's like, what cool thing could people do with our products? And then they like, okay, what safeguards can we put in place to make sure they can't do anything cool and nifty, right? I swear to God that exists within Microsoft because just the number of roadblocks that you run into like this, which is, and this, and while yes, you can use like folder.contents, and if you can't use the navigator, it sort of invalidates the whole thing, right? Because I can already, in advanced editor, I can do the same thing, folder.contents, and then add column, right? And get my CSV as far as it, and I could build all the logic as far as being able to recognize extensions and get calling the rights. And so I'll probably end up building out like a custom function to be able to do this. But it just, it loses any kind of usefulness if once you get it in loaded, then you have to sit here and right click and do this like 100 or several dozen times, right? It just makes no sense. So that's how not to build a custom connector, people. And love it if Microsoft would actually, loosen up the regulations on that, because I don't see any possible reason why they would just limit it to those 5, data accessing functions to allow you to use the navigator. I don't know what nefarious purpose that they think people are going to be trying to do, with their custom connectors and that go through the navigator. But there you go, people. It's really all I had for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.